Jimmy Kimmel live with him? Like, Jimmy Kimmel is a talented guy, and I don't think he's like an evil person or something, but he's made this deal where he just serves power and attacks anybody who challenges power. Like, how can, honestly, how can he look in the mirror and say, I'm doing something honorable? Like, how can he live with himself? How can his wife sleep with him?
Well, obscurity, nobody's going to care anymore. It's like you're seeing it take place with late night television. Nobody gives a fuck about it anymore.
I know.
And it's slowly, you have a bad business model and you're not adapting.
Yeah, the creativity's gone for late night comedy, right? Like, that's not really a thing.
Did you catch the moment when Jimmy Kimmel suddenly found himself caught off guard, not by a joke or a guest, but by two of the most outspoken voices on TV, Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson? This wasn't just another heated exchange. It was something far more intense, something that left Kimmel struggling to keep his cool live on air. What happened next sent shockwaves through the late-night world and left millions watching in disbelief. But that was only the beginning.
There's not a chance in hell that this is funny or gonna work. And when you see those flat, corny, late-night monologue jokes with no audience, Colbert, there's Jimmy Kimmel, there's Fallon. What they're doing is just like reading off of a teleprompter, so a bunch of really good joke writers wrote them some stuff, and then they're playing to the audience, and the audience is like laughing, so they get this feedback, and they know how to do that. They stand there, and there's applause signs. And then there's producers. There's the warm-up guy that's literally telling people to clap. They're like, okay, explain to the people. Okay, when Jimmy comes out, I want a big round of applause. Let's practice it.
This is why so much of comedy is not funny today. It's my chief criticism of like late night comedy, which I find unwatchable. I think it's totally unwatchable.
But also contemptible. I mean, they're collaborators.
They're just like the fact checkers. They're guardians of the narrative.
In that case, do you think that's him or a writer? Can't you tell?
Jimmy Kimmel? No, it's him, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
good. That's a good one.
He's a comic.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, he used to host The Man Show. I mean, he's done some pretty outrageous shit back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, for hee-hees and haw-haws.
No, that's a good joke on top of a good joke.
Yeah, it's a good joke. Funny thing to say. He's had a real problem with Elon from the beginning of this thing, but it's like he's in this leftist thought bubble. He's in the most leftist thought bubble available, which is Hollywood.
It'd be one thing if his job wasn't to be a comedian and to do that, but his job is to be he's supposed to be funny, and comedians are supposed to hold people in positions of power accountable.
Suck up
Yeah,
to the people in charge.
exactly.
He's their Praetorian Guard.
Yeah.
And it's like the self-hatred he must feel, because he wasn't always, that's my point. Yeah. I mean, Colbert has always been a hard partisan, talented guy, but obviously he's not a comedian. But Kimmel was a comedian. Like, how does he, I don't understand.
I don't know.
How he can...
Jimmy Kimmel is one of the most recognizable faces in late-night television. For over a decade, he's held the reins of his own show, blending comedy, interviews, and often sharp political commentary. Unlike some late-night hosts who stick mostly to lighthearted jokes, Kimmel has never shied away from diving into serious topics, especially when it comes to politics and culture. That approach has earned him a dedicated fan base, but it's also put him in the crosshairs of some powerful critics. He's been involved in numerous public spats with politicians, celebrities, and media personalities over the years, often using his platform to call out controversial figures. But while Kimmel has a reputation for staying in control, managing the conversation with a mix of humor and seriousness, recent events have shown cracks in that image. This latest clash with Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson wasn't a scripted feud or a playful back and forth. It happened live, and it caught Kimmel off guard in a way that few have before. The combination of Rogan's blunt style and Carlson's relentless commentary created a perfect storm that left Kimmel on the defensive. It's a stark reminder of how the media landscape is changing, where traditional late-night formats are facing new challenges from bold, unfiltered voices who aren't afraid to push boundaries. What makes this moment even more striking is how different these three personalities are. Kimmel's polished late-night persona contrasts sharply with Rogan's raw, no-holds-barred podcast style and Carlson's provocative political commentary. When those worlds collide, the result is explosive. And this time, Kimmel was the one feeling the heat. But this wasn't just about one tense night on television. It reflects a deeper shift in how audiences consume media and how public figures interact in today's digital age. Joe Rogan has become one of the most influential voices in media. known for his sprawling podcast, Where Nothing is Off Limits. Recently, Rogan didn't hold back when talking about Jimmy Kimmel. It started with a pointed critique of Kimmel's take on certain political issues, where Rogan accused him of being out of touch and overly scripted, essentially calling out the polished late-night routine as out of sync with what real people want to hear. Rogan's blunt style struck a nerve with many viewers, especially those tired of traditional media's polished messaging. What made Rogan's criticism stand out was the timing and the platform, delivered in a viral podcast episode that reached millions. He questioned not just Kimmel's opinions, but his credibility as someone who claims to speak for the average American. This wasn't just a casual jab. It felt like a direct challenge to Kimmel's entire approach to late-night television. Rumors quickly surfaced about tension behind the scenes, with insiders hinting that Kimmel wasn't thrilled about Rogan's rising influence and no-filter commentary. Some suggested that this wasn't the first time Rogan had taken shots at late-night hosts, but now it was personal. The internet lit up with clips and reactions, seeding a growing narrative that Rogan might be reshaping how media figures interact, and not always on Kimmel's terms. But that wasn't the whole story. Just when it seemed like Kimmel might ignore the challenge, Tucker Carlson stepped in, pushing things further. And that's when the live showdown took an unexpected turn. Tucker Carlson didn't just watch from the sidelines. Known for his sharp political commentary and willingness to push controversy to the edge, Carlson jumped into the fray in a way few expected. During a recent broadcast, Carlson brought up the ongoing tension between Joe Rogan and Jimmy Kimmel, only to add fuel to the fire himself. His tone wasn't subtle, it was pointed and unapologetic, zeroing in on Kimmel's vulnerabilities. What made Carlson's involvement so striking was how he framed the story, not just as a clash of personalities, but as a larger battle over who controls the narrative in today's media landscape. Carlson portrayed Kimmel as out of touch, unable to keep up with the changing tastes of the audience. It wasn't just criticism, it was a public dismantling that left little room for Kimmel to respond. Their brief back and forth, aired live, was electric. Carlson's relentless questioning and Rogan's earlier critiques stacked the pressure, and Kimmel seemed visibly rattled, something rare for a host usually so composed on camera. This wasn't just a debate, it felt like a public takedown. Viewers immediately noticed the shift. Social media exploded with reactions, some rooting for Carlson and Rogan, others defending Kimmel. But one thing was clear, the old rules of late-night TV were being challenged, and the clash was far from over. And what happened next would shock everyone. The tension reached a boiling point during a live broadcast that instantly went viral. Jimmy Kimmel, usually in control of the room, found himself on the defensive in a way viewers hadn't seen before. As Tucker Carlson pressed him with sharp, unexpected questions, Kimmel's usual quick comebacks faltered. There was a moment, a pause, a flicker of uncertainty that caught everyone's attention. What made this moment stand out wasn't just the exchange itself, but how unfiltered it felt. Kimmel's carefully crafted late-night persona cracked under pressure, revealing a side that few had seen. His tone shifted, his responses became shorter, and the usual humor gave way to an awkward tension that left the audience buzzing. The combination of Carlson's relentless questioning and Rogan's earlier public critiques created a perfect storm. Viewers online immediately picked up on the discomfort. Clips of the interaction spread rapidly across social media, sparking debates and memes. Fans of Rogan and Carlson celebrated the moment as a rare public takedown, while Kimmel supporters saw it as an unfair ambush. Media outlets ran headlines about Kimmel's humiliation and questioned whether this was a turning point in his career. But this wasn't just a viral moment. It was a sign of deeper shifts in the power dynamics of television and media. The lines between late-night comedy, political commentary, and raw, unscripted conversations are blurring, and Kimmel found himself at the center of that storm. What followed after the cameras stopped rolling was just as revealing. Once the cameras went off, the fallout was swift and intense. Jimmy Kimmel took to social media to address the incident, but his response was noticeably measured, far from the fiery comebacks his fans might have expected. Instead, he opted for a tone that mixed humility with a subtle defense, acknowledging the changing media landscape without directly confronting Rogan or Carlson. Some saw this as a strategic move to avoid escalating the feud, while others read it as a sign that Kimmel was shaken by the public blow. Meanwhile, the online conversation only heated up. Fans of Rogan and Carlson piled on, sharing clips and dissecting every moment, while Kimmel's supporters pushed back, accusing his critics of an unfair ambush. Media analysts began debating what this clash meant for late-night TV, with some suggesting it highlighted the growing challenge that traditional formats face from bold, unconventional voices who thrive on raw authenticity. Behind the scenes, rumors swirled about tensions within Kimmel's camp. Sources hinted that producers and staff were scrambling to figure out how to respond to the shifting dynamics, how to keep the show relevant in an era where audiences crave something real, unscripted, and unfiltered. The incident sparked speculation that Kimmel might need to rethink his approach if he wants to stay on top. But beyond the immediate drama, this moment exposed a larger truth. The media world is evolving, and even established stars aren't immune to being caught off guard. The question now is whether Kimmel can bounce back, or if this marks the beginning of a new era, one where the rules are rewritten and nobody is safe from being called out live on air. This clash between Jimmy Kimmel, Joe Rogan, and Tucker Carlson isn't just a one-off drama. It's part of a bigger shift reshaping the entire media landscape. Late-night TV, once the go-to source for entertainment and political commentary, is now facing fierce competition from platforms built on raw, unfiltered conversations that don't follow the old rules. Podcasts like Rogan's have exploded in popularity because they feel authentic, unscripted, and, importantly, unafraid to challenge traditional media figures. Carlson's involvement adds a political edge to this mix, blurring the lines between entertainment and opinion in ways that make the late-night format look almost quaint. For Kimmel, this means the carefully honed balance of comedy and commentary isn't enough anymore. The audience wants more honesty, more edge, and less polish. This moment also shines a light on how the power dynamics are shifting. The once unchallenged late-night hosts are now public targets for a new generation of media personalities who speak directly to millions without filters. It raises the question, can traditional shows survive in this new era? Or are they destined to be sidelined? For viewers, it means the landscape is more unpredictable and exciting than ever. But for figures like Kimmel, Rogan, and Carlson, it's a high-stakes game, one where every live moment can change the narrative in an instant. And as this battle unfolds, one thing is clear: the media world will never be the same. Jimmy Kimmel's live clash with Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson wasn't just a moment of on-air discomfort. It was a glimpse into the future of media itself. Traditional late-night comedy is no longer the untouchable giant it once was. The rise of unfiltered voices, raw conversations, and fearless critics is shaking up the status quo, and Kimmel found himself right in the middle of that storm. Whether this marks the beginning of a decline for late-night hosts or just another twist in a long-running media saga is anyone's guess. But one thing is certain: the lines between comedy, commentary, and controversy are blurring faster than ever. And viewers, they're watching closely, hungry for whatever happens next. So what do you think? Is Jimmy Kimmel's reign in late night under real threat? Or will he find a way to come back stronger? Let me know in the comments below.